Sunrise on Maryland's eastern shore. Around Ocean City, summer visitors of all types often bask in the glow of a new day before launching into action. Like wildlife ecologist Dave Brinker and bird researcher Archer Larned, who set course for an unusual destination this morning. A remote raft anchored in the inner waterways near Assateague Island. A test platform designed to help endangered colonial waterbirds establish nesting sites in this fast-changing environment.
We're trying to come up with ways of sustaining them while we deal with replacing or restoring the missing habitat.
In the past, these common terns would nest on small sandy islands throughout the area. But because those shorelines are increasingly rare these days, so are these migratory waterbirds.
Back in the late 1980s, there were 1,000 pairs of common terns breeding in Worcester County. Now, the only common terns we have are on this raft or on one small colony at the Maryland-Delaware state line.
The first task of the day? Taking stock of who's moved in. Guided by an overhead map of the raft, pinpointing design landmarks like small shade shelters, artificial grass, and bird decoys, Archer performs a sort of door-to-door census.
I am looking to see where all of the nests are and how many eggs or what the contents are. The eggs are very well camouflaged. They blend into the shells, so I step very cautiously, carefully, make sure that I look where I'm stepping so I don't step on any eggs.
Still, Archer counts quickly, eager to ease the stress on the birds and herself.
Adults are very defensive of their nests, and so they will dive bomb me and dive bomb anyone who's nearby and try to get you away from their nest, which is what they would do if any predator came. Now just hearing that sound makes me duck. Been conditioned. 16 new nests.
That gets us to 78.
We had 62 before.
So that's 78.
In its second year of operation, the raft has already enjoyed a nearly four-fold increase in occupancy. A year-to-year growth rate any Ocean City hotel would crave, especially in mid-June, before the true summer rush. But while the tourists have the beach and boardwalk, increasingly these birds have nowhere else to go. And it's not just the common tern. Black skimmers and royal terns are losing nesting habitat too. 3 avian icons now officially endangered in the state of Maryland, drastically changing the nature of the area for all who visit. Like David Curson, Director of Bird Conservation in Maryland for the Mid-Atlantic chapter of the Audubon Society.
These species are a vital part of the ecosystem here in the coastal bays, and if we didn't have them, that system would be a lot poorer.
Seeking solutions, the Audubon Society partnered with the Maryland Coastal Bays Program and Dave Brinker with the Maryland Department of Natural Resources, the lead funder in this project, to develop and deploy the Tern Raft experiment. While not an entirely new idea, artificial nesting rafts are rarely this large, 18 individual units totaling 2,300 square feet. All covered by crushed clamshell.
Crushed clamshell basically imitates a natural nesting substrate and provides a place for these terns to build their nests.
The team considered many factors when first towing the raft units into place before the birds' arrival in early spring, including water depth, distance from people, and potential predators. They also added little finishing touches, like real estate brokers staging a house for sale, sights and sounds to entice any passing common tern.
When birds fly over, they hear common terns, and they go over to inspect the raft, and then they see all these decoys. And that gets them down inspecting the raft.
Biologists call it social attraction, advertising that works. After wintering in South America, common terns return to this area to mate in late spring, early summer. Like any good innkeepers, Dave Brinker and his team want to know if the raft has any return visitors. So when research assistant and project photographer Kim Abplanap arrives on a pontoon boat with the rest of the team, everyone gets ready for the next phase of work.
So we'll leave the 2 here.
Once the birds settle down again.
We're getting ready to band adults at the nest so that we can document the birds coming back to use the raft year after year.
When I hear that sound, it makes me really excited that we've been able to be this successful on this raft so far this year.
On the first approach, Kim and Archer replace eggs with dummy eggs, setting traps over each nest. When the team backs off, they watch as the broody birds return to tend to their duties, unaware they've been tricked. The real eggs safely sheltered and incubating on the nearby boat.
Oftentimes you don't even see them startle when the door drops. They might start a little bit, but no, they're there to incubate, and they just sit there until we come and get them out of the trap.
The pontoon boat acts as a floating doctor's office, where Dave takes a number of measurements, like beak and wingspan. The bird's parting gift, leg jewelry, uniquely numbered for identification. Bird bands, not dog tags.
We banned 1 adult from every nest. We did that last year, and we marked 19 adults, and a remarkable 15 of them came back to nest on the raft.
After the birds are released, the eggs are returned. Unusually calm, the water looks like glass today. But the raft had to be designed to withstand a much rougher ride.
Basically, we take dock segments and use a hinge to put them together. Because it's hinged and it moves with the wave energies, it absorbs a lot of the worst wave energies.
And this means that it flexes, especially in storm events, and it's more resistant to the rather rough conditions that you can get in the coastal bays sometimes.
This turbulent environment once moved mountains of sand and sediment through the local waterways, destroying small sandy islands, but also naturally rebuilding them elsewhere. But in 1933, the Chesapeake Potomac hurricane cut through the barrier island here, creating the Ocean City Inlet, a landscape feature set in stone a year later with construction of the jetty. Easy access to the ocean benefited local business, fishing and tourism. But stabilizing the environment also had other consequences.
The whole system's less dynamic. So now the erosion of these islands is pretty much a one-way street towards the loss of these nesting sites, and they're no longer replaced naturally by sediment or sand.
Add to that climate change and rising sea levels, low-lying nesting grounds are quickly disappearing.
Sea level rise is eroding these islands, and the islands are not being replaced.
Located just north of the Ocean City Inlet, Skimmer Island paints the picture. It formed naturally, growing to 7 acres in size by the 1990s. But erosion took hold, washing away the shoreline. The Army Corps of Engineers tried to reinforce the site using sandy dredge material. But today, what was once critical nesting habitat is little more than a rest stop. High tide leaves Skimmer Island underwater.
There's nowhere that a tern or a skimmer could place a nest and have it free of flooding.
On the raft, however, nests and eggs stay dry. But it's only a costly rental.
We should emphasize these artificial islands are just a stopgap measure. It's not a long-term solution. The real long-term solution is to restore and maintain the natural sand islands of the coastal bays.
If you do it well, it might actually be a little bit cheaper because the islands may last longer than what we do here with the rafts.
For now, though, Dave and David must measure success in the short term. By midsummer, chicks scurry all about the raft. Learning as they go, the team added a small platform just feet away from the main raft. A little life raft for fledgling chicks. It gets a lot of use.
When they first leave the raft, they're not very good at flying yet, and this gives them somewhere where they can rest.
It's real rewarding when you see all these flying chicks fluttering around a raft. But monitoring when you have chicks running around is controlled chaos.
Careful with every step, Kim and Archer don't need traps to collect chicks.
It gives me hope when I see chicks on the raft.
About 450 birds took up residence on the raft this year, including 150 or so chicks.
That's a success, because without the raft, we would have been fledging probably 10 or 15 in the one natural colony. Next band is 70. Chicks 3 days old.
The chicks also get their raft souvenirs, ID bands. But everyone knows these little birds won't return until they're ready to breed. 3 years from now, a homecoming the team is determined to keep in Maryland.
Until we have both a successful island and a successful raft, we're going to have to keep doing this raft year after year.